Greetings, my friends. I apologize if this sounds like I'm reading it, but I want to make sure that I'm covering all of my bases as I talk to you about this proposed change. I think you'll agree that this has been a year like none other, at least in my experience. We started off with our Gets and Nats training, trying to set up the usual training that we've done. We take a look at all the goals and outcomes, and then we talk about Ed Week. Well, COVID hit and everything went south. So we struggled a bit trying to figure out what our approach was going to be. And as we worked through it over time, it turned out that our summer pre-work actually became our summer courses. That left us with time during Ed Week, and we talked about, with our goals and objectives, turning that into something about the 4 priorities. So as we have gone through that process, it is something that was called Monitor and Adjust by Dr. Madeline Hunter, a guru in education. And she said you always have to look at your instructional plans, your learners' needs, and then monitor appropriately. So as I said, we've done a number of changes, and we're making a change during the Ed Week 4 priorities. And I apologize if you've put much work into those sessions, but I think you'll find this as a bit of a relief because we are in the process of relieving you of doing any planning. I've done all the planning for those sessions, and I want to share that with you and what the thinking is about that. So I have written all the course planning sheets, put together the timelines, and done the PowerPoints. The first session is a setup for all the sessions. So it's going to be a longer session. It's going to be 90 minutes in length, and I'm going to review all the sessions with you. The purpose from the 30,000 foot level is to use the 4 priorities, each one as an anchor, as a way to summarize all the work that people have done this summer and put it into action steps and actions that they want to take to make changes at the district level, and how those actions will impact clubs, because that's where the rubber hits the road, is at the club level. Now I realize as we go through this, they're going to have about 45 or 50 minutes, we'll get to that when I go through the CPSs, to work in their districts, the E's and the N's together, to put those actions and action steps together, and there will be some overlap, and that's okay. I don't care, but I want them to really think about how they can use those 4 priorities to impact their district plans and their district clubs. So, that's basically it. Also at the bottom of the checklist worksheet, and I'll share that with you in a minute, there is a check mark to mark off whether or not they've covered membership, they've covered foundation, and whether or not they have covered brand and public image. So I'll share all that information with you. So rather than having me hum and haw around here, let's get into each of the sessions, and I'll go through them. We'll work through the PowerPoints, and it will take a few minutes, but I think you'll see that this, hopefully anyway, that this makes some sense. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to start off with session 1. So here we are, Ed Week, virtual Ed Week, and the 4 priorities with the general setup. We're going to start with why, and this is the why of the priority sessions. And I want to talk about that we will all improve and get to the vibrant clubs that we want if we're all using the same path, the same common language, and that's trying to frame the purpose of the 4 priorities. And then we talk about the destination, and this next why is about the Rotary vision. And then we talk about why clubs in North America are struggling. We need them to be vibrant and growing. And the goal of the 4 priorities is designed to help the DGs and the DG teams to support struggling clubs, building new clubs, and to enhance vibrant clubs. Then we move on to the purpose, and the purpose is more about what is the purpose of the sessions, not the why we're using the 4 priorities. And so it's to help the DGEs and the DGNs work together to summarize all their coursework that they've done and bring it into focus with real takeaways, real generated action plans and action steps. We want them to foster DG teams with a continuity over time with the same goals and the same purposes, and to include all their district leaders in that. And then to drive home that the real work in Rotary happens in the Rotary clubs, and we have to support them and motivate them toward vibrancy. And then to share these ideas with their district governors when we meet together virtually on Wednesday. So then we actually get into the 4 priorities, and you can see under each of the slides there's a little bit of some talking points. We start off with the Rotary Action Plan, the Rotary Vision. We get into the 4 priorities. Each one is a brief introduction, and then the next slide is about what clubs can do to support increasing, in this case, impact. And so you can think about action plans, action goals, action steps that would help support clubs in doing some of these things. And there's slides for each of the 4 priorities here with the same sorts of information. So I'm not going to take a huge amount of time going through all those. And after those have been reviewed on this first session, we want them remembering, analyzing, synthesizing, and summarizing all that they can from their coursework to complete the worksheets that I'll share with you, thinking about the essential elements, but getting those action steps and framed in each of those priorities. Here is a list of the courses that they've had during the summer. So you can say, give them a minute to kind of review through these and think about what did I learn in each of those. And hopefully they're going to have some notes. We can even talk about setting it up so that they look at their notes prior to these sessions so that they're fresh in their mind when they're doing it. I want to talk a little bit about the layers of influence that the district governor has. And what we're trying to do is get down to the level of influence, because there's no control at the club level of how can we influence, what action steps, what action plans can we do that actually may have some influence at the club level. Because in reality, and we've talked about this, Steve Lindenbrink and I have anyway, that whatever we've done in training isn't getting down to where it needs to be. And that's kind of what we're trying to, that's not kind of, but that's what we're trying to do, is to have them think about what is it that we can do, what action can we take to make that happen. Here's some samples of the planning sheets so that they have the action plans for their district, the action plans for their clubs, and then how will these goals fit into their plans for the district? And then underneath that is just kind of a check mark. Did we include membership in impact? Did we include membership and engagement? Have we included foundation, and how does that fit in? Where does public image fit into those? So that's all part of the thought process. Here's the other 2. And then after that general discussion and lead up, we go into session 1, which is from priority to action, increase our impact. And then we just review those slides again. And then we have the setup specifically for the session sharing those outcomes and the critical questions, which they have had already in the Google Classroom. Then we're going to break out by district for 45 minutes so the E's and the N's can work together, summarizing and filling out that worksheet with the action steps and action plans that they want to take, which is a summarization of all that they've done, whether it's around leadership or communication. All those pieces will fit in there someplace. There may be some overlap, and that's okay, as I said before. And then a wrap up, 10 minutes. Why did you choose these actions? So we start with why and we end with why. And there's parts of these in all those. Now let me share the CPS with you. Here's the course planning sheet for impact. You can see the purpose. We start off with the basic statement for impact, and then we have the outcomes that we want to share with them. You can read through those. I'm not going to read those to you, but it's all about having them work together in their districts to bring about vibrancy in their clubs. And then we have critical questions, and the critical questions for all 4 sessions and the outcomes are all the same. They're just changed to reflect which of the 4 priorities it is. What action steps can the DG take? How do the essential elements play in? What action steps can they take with their committees? And all that is laid out in those worksheets. And then it goes into the activities for this very first one, 5 minutes to introduce each other. You can share a story or whatever. 5 minutes is what you have. 30 minutes because of the length of that first general setup. And then 45 minutes broken out by districts. And then we will have the faculty floating in between, moving around in those 30 districts. And then 10 minutes to wrap up, ask why did you choose the actions that you did. So that's the CPS for this first piece. Now I'm going to see if I can open the planning sheet for this. So here's the planning sheet, increase our impact. That's got the same opening statement that we have in the purpose. What actions and goals for your district in this priority? How will those actions and goals support clubs? That's where we're trying to drill down to. How do these action plans fit into your multi-year plan in your district? And they've hopefully seen that. And then have they covered each of the essential elements in their action plans and goals? So that's all of the sessions have the same basic format. I'm going to share with you one more for ADAPT, because the wrap up for ADAPT is a little bit different. So I'm going to close this. I'm going to open ADAPT. So everything's the same except for the wrap-up. Vicki Pulitz has gotten some feedback from a couple of governors that their DGEs are overly enthusiastic and they feel like they're walking up their back. And we've all heard that in the past. And so in this final session before they meet with their governors, I'd like this group, who is David, Lucinda, and Ken, one or more of you, talk about having a frank discussion with their district governor. So the E and the district governor talk about teamwork, how the E is supporting the district governor and meeting the goals of the district, but also how the district governor is supporting the district governor-elect in their preparation for becoming district governor. and that how these two things can work best together. And I think if it's an open discussion, then there's not any hurt feelings. People don't get bent out of shape. Anyway, it's a discussion that needs to happen so that everybody's working together as best they can. So I think that's about it. I will get a link for your Thursday meeting this week and join you for a few minutes so that we can talk about this. You can share your concerns. You can, share things that you think would improve it. I'm totally open to making this the best possible collaborative effort that we can do. And I know that you're working hard not only for this, but for the Zone Institute, and it's a lot to do. So I wanted to help relieve some of that pressure by preparing this material for you. So thanks for all you do, and I'll talk to you on Thursday.